Hello everyone. So TCS interviews are right around the corner. First of all, I would like to congratulate each one of you who has been successfully able to complete the written round. The TCS interviews are just as important as the written round, as these two are elimination round. You cannot stop now. You have to give your 100% in order to ace your interview. You all will soon be getting an email with your time slots. TCS has two posts. One is Ninja and the second is Digital. In this video, I will tell you exactly what to study in the next few days in order to guarantee that you get selected in TCS. Make sure that you do not skip anything and make sure you watch the video till the very end. If you study everything I tell you in this video, I can guarantee 100% that you will ace your interview and get selected in TCS. So let's get started. Firstly, we'll see what important topics are more likely to come. So the first one is OOPS. Beat any technical interview in any company for any post. OOPS will always be asked. The second one is data structures and algorithm. You should have basic knowledge about all the data structures, at least theoretical, and certain algorithms like searching, sorting, etc. First of all, let us see what are the important topics that you need to cover. The first one is OOPS. Be it any technical interview in any company, OOPS is sure to come. The next one is data structures and algorithm. The next one is data structures and algorithms. You should have basic knowledge of each data structure and certain algorithms like searching, sorting, etc. So we will be discussing what to study inside each of this subtopic later in the video. Right now I'm just giving you an overview of what are the important topics that you will have to cover. The next is DBMS, mainly SQL. They may ask a little bit about deadlocks, normalization, etc. But usually they will focus on SQL and SQL commands. Next, you should have a good grip on any one of the programming languages, be it C, C++, Java or Python. You should also know the theoretical concepts within the language that you have chosen. Next, you should have the basic knowledge about operating systems, computer networks, and software development life cycles. In SDLC, you can choose one or two models and go for deeper knowledge for those one or two models. For OS and CN, you do not have to study the numerical part. Just revise the important theoretical parts. Moving on, then there are some miscellaneous questions. We will discuss what they are in the next slides. Next, projects. Whatever projects you have written in your resume, you should have a very good knowledge about each one of them. How you implemented that, what technologies were used, what difficulties you faced, and what did you learn through that project. If it is a ML AI project, then which libraries were used, what languages like Python or R, what did you exactly use to make those projects. They can go as deep in the project as they want. So projects are something you must revise before the interview. So if you have written any certification or internships in your resume, it is very important to revise what you did there. Like for internship, they may ask what was your role in the company, what technologies were you using, and what exactly did you achieve. For certification, if you have written C++ certification, Java certification, or SQL certification, or any other certification of that sort, they will ask deep questions about that particular topic. The interviewers are very knowledgeable. Never underestimate them. Do not say something that you are unsure about. Research each and every aspect about your project, about your certifications, and your internship, and only say what you are very sure about. So let us discuss what you need to study in OOPS. So first question is, what is object-oriented programming? A very basic, a very important question. Next, what are the pillars of OOPS? So you have to know the four pillars of OOPS. So in this, you have to tell the four pillars of OOPS: inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, and abstraction. So you have to go in detail about each one of those pillars, and it would be better if you have an example ready for each one of them. Next, what are advantages of OOPS? Then what is a class and what is an object? So this is a very important topic. What is a class and what is an object? You must be very clear in your mind that these are two different things and what is the difference between them. Next, access specifiers. So you have private, protected and public access specifier. You should have an example ready with you as to where will you use each one of these access specifiers. Then we have constructors. Then there are different types of constructors like copy constructor. Then they can ask you about the differences in a constructor and a method. Next question is difference between procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Then we have abstract classes and abstract methods. So in this, you should clearly know what is function declaration and what is function definition. Okay? So the next topic is compositions. Then the difference between composition and inheritance. So from here we can go into types of inheritance. So you have to explain each type with suitable examples. Then we have compile time and runtime polymorphism. So here firstly explain what polymorphism is. Then let them know that there are two types of polymorphisms. There is runtime and there is compile time. Then in each of these two categories give 2 to 3 examples of what is runtime polymorphism and what is compile time polymorphism. Then we have friend functions, static variables, this keyword and final keyword. So these are all the important topics you need to cover in OOPS. This isn't a very big task, so you can go to any website you trust and cover these topics. At least read 2 to 3 paragraphs about each one of these topics and try to get at least one example for each one of them. The first question can be, what are data structures? So you need to explain what are data structures as well as where and when they are used. After this, you can be asked types of data structures. So for this, there are linear and non-linear data structures. So explain each of them with at least one example. Types of arrays. So they can be 1D, 2D, etc. Mainly stick to 1D and 2D arrays. Explain to them how to access each one of them, how to declare each one of them. So for this, you can choose any language that you are comfortable in. After this, we have linked list. So linked list is a topic from where they can ask very basic coding questions as well. So prepare linked list properly. Firstly, prepare the definition, how to traverse linked list, then prepare the basic coding questions of linked list. Difference between array and linked list. So here you will have to tell the advantages and disadvantages of both these data structures, arrays and linked list. Difference between stacks and queues, operations on stacks and queues, applications of stacks and queues. So you can easily find 2 to 3 examples of stacks and queues each. In each example, elaborate on why this particular data structure is more useful for that particular example. Then they can move on to asking you what is greedy programming and what is dynamic programming. Each of the questions that I have discussed above can easily be found on the internet. Go to any website that you trust. Try to read 2 to 3 paragraphs for each topic and get at least 1 to 2 examples for each question. Always try to support your viewpoint with an example. For example, if they ask you which is a better data structure, arrays or linked list, so you can clearly say that none of them is better. There are pros and cons to each of them. And then give a case where array would be better, like binary search. And then give a case where, like when we do not know the size of our data. Moving on to DBMS. So in this, there are certain basic questions that they always ask. So what is database? What is DBMS? What is RDBMS? Difference between DBMS and RDBMS. Types of relations. So there are one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many relations. So explain each one of them with suitable examples. What is a table and what is a field? Then different types of keys in our table. And then different types of keys, primary key, candidate key, etc. Then the difference between a primary key and a foreign key. They can move on to some basic types of joins, normalization, and ACID properties. In joins, they will not ask you to actually join two tables. They will simply ask you what types of joins are there and what do they do. Try to explain it with examples. I'm repeatedly saying that you should explain everything with an example, because then the interviewer would also feel that you actually know the topic and you're not just giving bookish definition of each of them. Okay. So in SQL, what they mainly ask are DDL, DCL, and DML commands. What is the difference between each of them? Then the different constraints that you can put into your table, like not null, primary key, etc. Difference between delete and truncate. I have seen this question in many different interviews. A lot of students were asked this very same question in TCS in the last year as well. So prepare this question very well. So there are certain queries that they always ask. So there are certain fixed questions in SQL that they ask. So they are fetching unique records. So you use the distinct keyword there. Fetching top n records. Fetch common records from two different tables. Fetch names that starts with a certain set of letters and ends with a certain set of letters. So you have to use the like keyword there. Fetch the first three characters from a string. Fetch names of students who scored more than, let's say, 90 marks, 80 marks, or whatever they tell you. Fetch alternate records from a table, first, third, fifth, seventh, and so on, or maybe second, fourth, sixth, and so on. Fetch name of students who scored marks between 80 and 90. So these are some of the standard queries that they ask. So as I told you in the beginning, you have to be proficient in at least one programming language, and they will ask you which language you are comfortable in. So if you choose C, so these are certain questions that they're likely to ask. So what are the features of C? Use of printf and scanf, difference between local and global variables, call by value, what is call by reference. Always remember to give a few examples with each explanation. What is recursion? What are pointers? Dynamic memory allocation? Difference between malloc and calloc? So these are the major topics they touch upon if you tell them that you are comfortable in C. So if you tell them you are proficient in C++, all the questions that are relevant in C are also relevant for C++. For C++, there is just one more important question that they ask, that is difference between a class and a structure. If you choose Java, then they will ask you features of Java. They will ask you about JVM, JDK, JRE, that is Java Virtual Machine, Java Development Kit, and Java Runtime Environment. Garbage collection, why multiple inheritance is not supported in Java, why Java doesn't support pointers. So no matter which language you choose, these questions that I have shown you are easily available on the internet. Go to any trusted source. I'm highlighting trusted word here. Don't go to small blogs. They may or may not have written correctly. Go to trusted websites. Do a little bit research about each of the questions and find suitable examples for each of them. Now they will ask you the difference between these programming languages, like the difference between C and C++, C++ and Java, C and Python. You should know what is the difference between these languages. Coming on to operating systems. So what do they ask in operating systems? As I told you earlier, there will be no numerical questions. There will just be theoretical questions. So types of operating systems, functions of an operating system, name some of the operating systems, process scheduling, deadlock, conditions for deadlock, page replacement algorithm, disk scheduling algorithms. These are the important questions for operating system. Just read 2 to 3 paragraphs from any trusted source about each of these questions. And that should be more than enough. Moving on to computer networks, they will ask you about OSI model, all the layers, what does each layer do, then functions of each layer, then what is domain name server or DNS. This question has been repeated in many technical interviews. Do make sure to do a little research about this. Then for SDLC, they'll ask you to give a basic overview of what is an SDLC. Then you can prepare any two of the SDLC models that you wish to. They will simply ask you to explain any SDLC model, and if they go further into it, they can ask you to contrast it with another SDLC model. That is why studying two SDLC models in detail should be enough. Moving on to programming questions. So the interviewer may ask you to code the program right there. Okay, so be prepared. Revise all the things that you have studied till now. I am giving you a list of most important programs that have come time and again in TCS interviews. So it is swapping two variables. They can ask you to swap two variables without using a third variable as well. Reversing a number, Armstrong number, first 20 prime numbers, first 30 prime numbers, etc. Checking if a string is a palindrome or not. Reversing a string, counting vowels in a string, Fibonacci series, printing the first n numbers in a Fibonacci series, or maybe printing the nth number in the Fibonacci series. Then you have GCD or HCF of two numbers, LCM of numbers, and binary search. These are the programming questions that they can ask you. They may ask you only for the pseudocode, or they may ask you to code it properly right in front of them. So prepare them very well. Okay, these are basic questions. You can easily prepare them in half a day. So do make sure you code each one of them before your interview day. These questions are only asked to aspirants of the digital post. So these are basically the latest technologies in computer science. So you should know a little bit about each one of them. Not much, don't go into much detail. Just 2 to 3 paragraphs about each one of them would do. The first one is cloud, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, blockchain, and big data. So a lot of students are usually confused between what is machine learning and what is AI. So do a little bit of research, make sure you understand each one of these terms clearly. You don't have to tell them a lot about any of these topics, but whatever you tell them, make sure it is well researched and well understood. So this was all for the technical round. Now I will tell you what they ask you in the managerial round. What technologies would you prefer working with? So you can give examples from your projects as well that I have been working on HTML and CSS. Next, I would like to move on to Bootstrap if there is an opportunity. What is your opinion on work from home? If given the option, which mode of working would you prefer? So in these questions, there is no right or wrong answer. You should just be very clear about what your mindset is. Don't fluctuate between answers. Have a very clear mindset. What if you are given a project where you have to work on a different language or a new language you haven't explored till now? Okay, so these are some of the questions that they can ask you in the managerial round. Basically, they are just trying to understand what is your state of mind. That is all. Just be open minded. If they are giving you some feedback, don't interrupt them. Take it in a positive sense. Now, moving on to the HR round. Apart from these questions, in the HR round, they may ask you about your family, about you, whether you want to pursue higher education in future or not, and basic questions of that sort. In the HR round, they can ask you a few puzzles. So these are some of the famous puzzles that they ask. So let's see the first puzzle. So you're given three jars, a 5 liter jar, a 3 liter jar, and another jar with where dimensions are not mentioned. You are given infinite water supply. How will you collect 4 liter in the dimensionless jar? So firstly, we take the 5-liter jar. This is our 5-liter jar. And this is the 3-liter jar. So firstly, we'll completely fill the 5-liter jar with water. Then we'll pour water from this 5-liter jar into this 3-liter jar. So after pouring water into the 3-liter jar, what will we get? The 5-liter jar will now have 2 liters of water left. And the 3-liter jar is completely filled with water. So we'll put this 2-liter water into that dimensionless jar. Okay, so let's say this is our dimensionless jar. We'll put this 2-liter water into this jar. So now it has 2 liters of water. Now we will repeat this process once again, thus adding 2 more liters of water in this dimensionless jar. So we'll get 2 plus 2, 4 liters of water in this dimensionless jar. So moving on to the next puzzle. So in this puzzle, there are 3 bulbs in one room and 3 switches in another room. How will you find which switch is for which bulb? You can go to the room where bulbs are present only once. So how will we solve it? So these are the 3 light bulbs, B1, B2, B3, and these are the 3 switches. So what we'll do is, we'll switch on S1 and we'll wait for 10 minutes. After that, we will switch on S2 and then we'll go into the room. One of the bulbs will be hot and on. So let's say bulb 2 is very hot and it is on. So S1 will be switch for bulb 2. One of the bulbs will be on but not hot. So S2 will be associated to that particular bulb. Let's say it is B1, that is on but not hot. And the third bulb will be off. And S3 will be associated to that particular bulb. So this is how we will go about solving this particular problem. Moving on to the third puzzle. So here you have 10 bags of coins. In each bag there are 1000 coins, but one bag is full of fake coins. A genuine coin weighs 1 gram and a fake coin weighs 1.1 grams. How can you identify the bag with forgeries with just one weighing? So you can weigh just once and you have to tell which bag has fake coins or forged coins. So how will you solve this? So from bag 1, we will take 1 coin. From bag 2, we will take 2 coins. From bag 3, we will take 3 coins and so on. So bag 4, we will take 4 coins, 5 coins, 10 coins. Okay. Then we'll collect all these coins and weigh them. So what should be the ideal weight of all these coins? If none of them were fake, the weight would be 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to 10. This is 10 into 11 by 2. It is n plus 1 by 2. It is 55 grams. Let us suppose the weight comes out to be 55.5 grams. So whatever we get in the decimal part, that will give us the bag number. Because we took 5 coins from the bag number 5 and each coin in that bag is 1.1 grams. That is why we have 0.5 grams extra. So we'll know 5th bag has forged coins. What if the weight was 55.3 grams? So there is 0.3 grams extra. So we'll know that we took 3 coins from the 3rd bag. And that is why the 3rd bag has forged coins. So we have found out which bag has forged coins with just one weighing. So that is all. This is all you need to study in the next few days in order to guarantee that you are able to successfully give your TCS interview. So all the very best to all of you. I again recommend you to watch the complete video and cover each and every topic. I have only discussed the topics which will be coming in the interview. So in your interview, all three types of questions will be asked to each one of you: technical, HR, and MR. So do not miss out your opportunity. Cover each and every topic that I have discussed in this video, and I can guarantee that you will get placed 100%. Thank you very much for watching the video. See you in the next lecture.